There we go. All right, now we're good. So today we're going to talk about jQuery, which is a JavaScript library that makes our lives easier. And the easiest way to show you this is by example. So according to the jQuery website, it is the write less, do more JavaScript library. And if you really scrutinize and think about what that means, it basically tells you nothing, right? So what is a library? In case you didn't know, I just want to make sure we're all aware this is how a library looks like. But the library we're going to be talking about today looks more like this. It is a collection of tools, of utility functions, you can think of them like that, that allow us to solve very specific problems. And it's very opinionated in how it lets us solve those problems. So if we wanted to iterate through a list on a web page, for example, we would do it one way in JavaScript, right, the raw way. But in jQuery, we could do it in a simpler way because they think, oh, people do that all the time. Let's create a utility that makes that easier for us to do, right? So that's what the JavaScript library is for. Yes?
So I was wondering, what's the difference between a library and a framework?
Excellent question. That is an amazing question. So a library doesn't tell you, actually that's what this slide is going to talk about. A library doesn't tell you how to write your code. It only gives you a set of tools that you can use to accomplish a task easier. It's like a car mechanic who has a toolbox full of tools. He can use those tools however he wants to fix the car, right? But if you have a framework, it's like you're working for a car dealership and they have a very strict set of rules. You're going to use this set of tools to do this thing and you're going to do it in this way. So with a framework, you're not really given much leeway in how you design your application. It's very opinionated. But if you just have a library, it's kind of like, here's all the tools, you can use them however you want, right? So thanks, that's a very good question. So generally, a library reduces the code complexity. It gets rid of a lot of the hard stuff for us. So instead of having to figure out, oh, if in IE 7, in Internet Explorer 7, this doesn't work because it's too old and nobody likes it anymore. In Chrome it works. JavaScript or jQuery is actually going to figure out how to solve those problems for us, so we don't have to worry about it. And I'm going to tell you what that means in a minute. And it doesn't dictate how you present your code. So you can write your code however you want, within reason, and it'll just work. So let's take a look at an example, because I'm sure you're all thoroughly confused, because I didn't really do a good job explaining what that meant. If we look at this HTML code, I create a div, which is just a block content in HTML, and it has an ID ring, and the content is bling. If we look at vanilla JavaScript, if we look at how this is constructed in vanilla JavaScript to change the content of the text bling to something else, in this case my precious, we're going to do this. We're going to say document. The document refers to the entire page, right? Just like in Microsoft Word, your page is your document. In HTML, your page is all your HTML code. So document, you're going to get an element by your ID, so it's going to check through all your HTML code. It's going to find this div that has this ID with the value ring, so it's going to say, oh, I have the ring now, and it's going to change the content of the text to my precious. All right? How does it know the document variable? The document variable is preloaded when you load any website or any web page in your browser. It's automatically provided to you, just like the window object is also provided to you. You have a few things that it gives to you for free that you can then use to access the rest of your HTML. If we wanted to do this in jQuery, it gets a lot easier, all right? We can do this, and bear with me a little bit. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense right now, but we use this magic $ in front, and we select the ring just like we would in CSS. The hashtag, of course, means an ID selector, right? So we're passing in basically a CSS query, and I forgot the tick mark over here as well. But we're passing in a string, basically expression that tells us what we want to find on the page, as opposed to imperatively trying to find the element this way. So we select the ring ID and then just change the text. So see how much shorter this is? This is like half the size, right? Half the length. So it's pretty easy, and we're gonna play around with that a little bit. So let's code something because that's more fun. I'm gonna delete all this. I'm gonna create a new document. So I'm gonna try something here, and if you want to follow along, this will be great because there's this collaboration tool in JS Fiddle. and it lets us look at the code together. All right. The only issue with this is anybody can edit this code at any point in time, so I'm trusting that you guys are not going to mess with it too much, all right? So let's see how that goes. All right, so if you will go to this link, for those of you who want to follow along, I'll wait for like 10 seconds. If you can go to that link, you should see a JS fiddle, and you should be a guest viewer on that fiddle. Does anybody need more time? All right. All right. All right. I'm going to close out of this now. Oh, hey, 37 clicks. All right, nice. Okay. Ooh. Okay, this will be fun. So, let's see how this goes. All right. Perhaps it wasn't the greatest idea. Let's see, can I hide people's fingers? Because that would be great. No, I guess not. Can everyone like put their fingers like on the bottom of the page maybe? Awesome. Good job, guys. Good job. Silent Seal. I have no idea who Silent Seal is, but the one on top is this is me here. All right. Let's do this. So, to get started, we're gonna have a list. We're gonna get started using our jQuery. The first thing we want to do is load up the jQuery library. Since we're using JS Fiddle, it's very easy to do. We just go and select jQuery, and that automatically loads the jQuery library for us. So we don't have to do anything special. It just lets us write code and be done with it. We're gonna create a list. L-I-A. We're not going to put anything in it. And we're just going to call this, we're going to give it a class of dog. And let's make this a little bigger. And this is just going to say dog. That's it. No big deal. And then I'm going to duplicate this like 3 times, 4 times. And I'm going to run it. So if you look in the bottom right corner, you see a list with 4 links that say dog in it, right? So this is pretty boring. Nothing to it, right? I'm gonna go ahead and write some JavaScript that'll allow us to manipulate the content you see in the bottom right corner here, all right? Can everyone still see it on their screens? Is it not like lagging or anything? All right, okay, this looks good. Whew, so many buttons, so many fingers. So many owls and giraffes and, oh, there's a curious cat. Okay. All right, so let's do this the vanilla JavaScript way. Vanilla meaning pure JavaScript without any libraries, without any helper methods or anything, right? We're just going to do this. We're going to be macho. We're going to do this all on our own, and it's going to be great. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable called dogs. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to go ahead and select. We select the entire document, right? The document has all the HTML in it. And then we're going to get an element by ID. Sorry, get elements by class name, and I'm going to pass in dog. So what do you guys think this will do? Exactly. Dogs will now be pointing to an array of dog elements. So it'll have all of these links inside of it. And to prove to you guys that I'm telling you the truth, we can print out dogs, and if you right click on your page and say inspect element on your computer, it's going to pull up this console window. Whoa, a lot of stuff going on. It's going to pull up this console window, and you can, oh, you know what? It's picking up all of your wacky whale and friendly fox clicks. So it sees all that too. But it's logging out all the dogs. If you look here, you have this array, and you have 4 dogs in it, right? And if you can tell, I'm hovering over these, and in the right pane, it's selecting the dog from the list. So here, I very quickly was able to get a list of all the dogs in my HTML code. So cool. Now the next thing we have to do is iterate through this list in order to change the values of each dog, right? So what I mean by that is I'm going to do this. I'm going to create a for loop. Oops, not Java. So just a standard for loop. I is less than, friendly fox, could you move your cursor so I can see the dogs? So I is equal to 0, I is less than dogs.length, I plus plus. So what we're doing is we're iterating through an array, right? And what we're going to do in the array is we're going to say, cool, I'm going to grab my dogs at I, and I'm going to modify it a little bit. I'm going to do something cool to it. So I can now access the text content, and I can make the text content equal to shots fired, run, dog drool. And I'm going to add a counter variable to this because I have, I'm going to print out the counter variable because I have I. I will start from 0 to 3, right? I run this again, it's going to say dog 0 drool, dog 1 drool, dog 2 drool, etc. I'm going to add a space to that. Right? Cool. Does that make sense to everybody? I have friendly fox. I have a dogs variable that's pointing to a collection of dogs, which I grabbed using this JavaScript API. So this is provided by your browser. Okay, this is default behavior that everyone can get. So getting element by class name dog, I now iterate through every single dog, and then I change the content to something else. So now instead of just saying dog right up here, it actually changed it to dog plus the counter plus the word drool. So this is okay, I guess. This is pretty manageable. If we wanted to make this good JavaScript code, though, since this is JavaScript, we can do something crazy. And I'm just going to do this really, really quickly because this is not really the focus of the presentation, but we can do something like this to encapsulate. Let's tidy this up. This is the correct way to do it, guys. So we're going to do that. All right, and then dogs. There we go. There we go. So oops, let's clear this. It's hard to see with all the, no, yeah, so that works, right? So what I did here was I basically put it in a closure. I'm creating a module. I'm passing this in. I'm passing dogs into the module, loading it as A, and then I need to use A in here actually. So this needs to be A. Oops. This needs to be A here. A dot length. Yep. Yeah. So this is a module pattern, module revealing pattern. What it means is we're creating a closure in JavaScript. When we pass dogs in here, it transforms it into A as a parameter and function. So var I is now closed inside of this, so you can't access I up here, and you cannot access I down here. But that's kind of outside the scope of this presentation. I just wanted to show you guys that. Because if you were to write legit JavaScript, this is what you would do. And this looks pretty freaking ugly, right? So we have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines of code. Yes?
Why do you put parentheses before the function?
This basically exploits a weird JavaScript syntax that allows you to create something called a self-executing function. So this code gets executed instantaneously. I can show you afterwards. Basically, it's like when you have a function and you add parameters to it and it turns it into a function executable. I can show you that after. But let's talk about jQuery. Let's talk about jQuery. All right. So this is pretty fugly, right? So let's make this better. All right. I'm going to go ahead and comment this out. Whoops. I'm going to comment this out, and we're going to start anew. Can everyone still see the code on your computers? All right. All right, egregious giraffe. Okay. We're now going to do this the jQuery way. To start anything out in jQuery, you can either do jQuery like this. So I'm accessing a function called jQuery. Or, since programmers are lazy, we like to start everything with $signs. So this means the same thing. This is jQuery. And this is a function. So like when you say function hello, like this, and then when you use hello, you say hello, right? Right? This is what this is doing. Except instead of hello, we're using a $sign. Because we're lazy as developers and we want things to be easy. So we're going to start with our $sign, and we're going to say, hey, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Hey, I'm going to select my dog. And if you remember from our CSS talks, to do a class selector, you would use a period, followed by the name. So now I just selected the dog, and Curious Cat likes that. I selected the dog, And what this will do is it'll traverse through the entire list. If you look up here in this HTML part, it's going to look through this HTML document and say, oh, here's a dog, here's a dog, here's a dog, here's a dog. And it's going to go through each one of those and give us access to it inside of our jQuery function. All right? So now I can say dogs.each. Each provides us access to, guess what? Each dog in our list. Mind-blowing stuff, I know. I'm now going to pass through an index, if I can see what's going on there. Wacky whale. All right. Oh, maybe if I close this. Okay. Can everyone still see that? So when I say each, I now have access to the dog. So each dog, the first dog will be this one way up here, and then the second one will be this one. So I'm iterating through it, just like I did with my array earlier. Yes?
Can you open the console so that we see the code at the bottom?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Is that better?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that. All right, so now I have access to each dog in my list on the right. And we can go ahead and start accessing this, right? So I'm going to say var new text. I'm just creating a variable here. So this variable could be called anything. I could call this like new. I could call this like text or whatever, right? I'm just going to call it new text, and I'm going to set it to be equal to this. Now this is a new syntax. Remember how you use this $ followed by these parens, right? This is a function, right? This is a function called a jQuery. When I pass in something in here, right, it's going to look for it in the DOM, and it's going to give me some value, some object that I could then modify. So in this case, I'm giving it a dog, right? I'm telling it to look for a dog or a dog class, and it's going to give me access to every single dog in the DOM, right? So similarly, when I am in each dog, it's going to give me access to a variable. It's going to change the scope to this. And what this allows me to do is it lets me access the currently selected dog. So if I am modifying the first dog, if in the loop, I'm accessing the very, very first dog, using $this allows me to access that, just like I do dog. So instead of having to do like dog and then like select the child or whatever, you know, I can do this and then I can select the child or something like that. So I have access to the current dog, and I'm going to get the text of the dog, all right? And to prove that that works, I'm going to log the new text out into the console. So if you guys want to follow along, you'll see in the midst of all these other object messages, there is a dog thing that shows up, right? 4 times, because I have 4 dogs. Did I lose anybody? Does that make sense?
What is the function index part?
The function index? Oh yes, don't worry about that. We can actually get rid of that for now. So that doesn't have to be there at all. So we have an each. It calls this function 4 times because there are 4 dogs, right? And we're getting the text inside the dog. So we're grabbing dog, 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 dog. That's what we're doing right now.
So are you writing a generic function here?
So here, yes, this is an anonymous function. Yes. All right. And yes, JavaScript's kind of weird, so we have to kind of work with this notation. But it's really, once you learn it, it's really empowering. So, all right. So we have the value of the current text, right? That just says dog. So how do we append to that value? How do we change the text of dog to something else? What's that? Dot append. Okay. So you're saying we could do this dot append and then append the new text. So sorry. Yeah, we could do that, but a more efficient way would be to do this dot text, or sorry, dot text. We could do HTML if we wanted to add more stuff to it, and we just pass in new text. And oh, that's why I didn't see it. So there we go. So we just set the text for the currently selected dog to be equal to drools. So it's going to be whatever it is plus the word drools. And this is just string concatenation here. So now it says dog drools. jQuery also provides us with an index. So if we pass in, or if we specify the index attribute here, we can now access this index. So if wild wolf, okay, there we go. We can then say text plus index plus drools. And all this will do is it'll add the counter, right? So dog 0 drools, dog 1 drools, right? So what did we do here? If we look at this code in depth, oops, curious cat, go away. We can see, I'm going to bring this into Sublime. All right, can everyone see that? All right. So what we did was we grabbed each dog from our HTML, and in each dog we're executing a function. So this function is going to be called every single time it sees a dog. And when it sees the dog the first time, it's going to say new text is going to be equal to the current dog's text, and we're going to add the index, you know, which dog is in the list, so 0, plus the current text. So this will just append dog 0 drools, right? Drools. So that's all this does. And this is like, oops, what is this? Okay. So this is really, really simple, right? As opposed to doing dogs document get element by, what was it? Get by element by class, elements by class name. I'm not, you know, class name, dog, you know, and then doing a for each loop. That's really boring, right? I mean, this is like really long, really arduous. Nobody has time for that. So instead, we just do this. Okay, it's very, very clean, very simple, very easy to understand. All right, I'm wondering if this was a good idea or not. It's really hard to see things. Okay, so does that make sense to everybody? What I'm doing here? All right, let's go back to the presentation. Whew.
What did new text represent?
New text? Oh, sorry. Where? Oh, this? Oh, yeah. So new text is going to be equal to a string. So the string is going to be, it's grabbing the text of the dog, and it's adding the index and the word drools. So new text is actually dog 0 drools. And then we're putting the text into, we're setting the text back to that new text. So I could have copied and pasted this here and stuck it directly in here, but that's like really, really ugly, right? We don't want to do that. So we're just going to do new text. So it's more readable that way.
Why are there 2 semicolons?
2 semicolons? Oh, so this semicolon is for this line. And this semicolon, oh, this one down here. Yeah, my bad. But JavaScript's not going to yell at us because it's JavaScript and it's forgiving. So, okay.
So,
all right.
On the last line is the text, not text of function or method
So the question was,
of jQuery?
Is this line right here a function of jQuery? And the answer is yes. So when we say this, jQuery is exposing to us a bunch of functions and helper methods that we can use. .text internally is using like inner HTML or text content so it's basically saying document.select get element by class name dog, and it's going to grab the index value because it's an array, and then it's going to grab text content is equal to new. That's kind of what it's doing. It's actually doing more than this. But which one would you prefer? Would you prefer this big-ass thing that you can't understand, or this, right? So I prefer the first one. I like it. It's cute. So let's get back to the presentation. All right. Present this again. All right. So that's what that example was. But we only just touched the surface, right? There's a lot more to it than that. So that was just the beginning. Let's talk about events a little bit. Same fiddle. I'm going to try this one more time. Let's delete everything. Runs. Now we have blank screen. Is everyone still on the JS fiddle that can see everything? Okay. So now we're going to talk about keyboard events really quickly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a ball. I like balls. Every time I do a presentation, it's about balls. And it's a red ball in this case. So we're going to do a ball background color. I can't see that. Can't see what I'm typing. Background color. Intelligent iguana needs to move his face. Okay. All right. So I created a ball that has a background color red, and I'm going to make the border radius 50%. So now we should have a ball. Okay, so let's use jQuery to manipulate this ball a little bit so we can do some cool things. We want to do the following. So we want to select the document. So we're selecting the entire document that you can see in your HTML. So just like in Word again, that page that you see when you edit your content, that's what this is, right? So we're selecting the entire document, everything that you can see completely. And what we want to do is we want to attach an event to that. And the event that we want to attach is called key down, okay? The key down event will basically say whenever I press a key, so if I press ASDF in this window here, I'm going to trigger this event. So it's basically like calling a function every time you press a button on your keyboard. That's pretty cool, right? So you can imagine if a game, you had like your side-scroller RPG game, and you pressed your WASD keys, you can move your character by listening to events on your document. Because when I'm in my document, I pressed my keyboard, right? Those keys are being tapped inside the document. So I can listen for those, and I can do something with that. Does that make sense? Okay. Stick with me, guys. We can do this. All right. Document, I'm going to listen for a key down event. And when key down happens, it's going to execute a function, which I'm specifying in here. All right, so whenever a key down happens, it's going to fire this event. So let's test that. Alert, key pressed, and I'm going to press run. And you guys feel free to join me as well. Anytime you press a key, it's going to now bark at you.
Oh, damn.
It's cool, right? No. Let's be punny. Yeah. All right. If we wanted to be cooler people, we could even add the event. So when you press a key, like right now we can say bark, but we have no idea which key we pressed, right? So I could have pressed the A key, the W key, I could have pressed the arrow keys. JavaScript doesn't know, right? Because I'm just saying bark. But if I allow myself access to this E, I can call this event. Oops, I can call this, if I can see what I'm selecting here. It won't let me click on it. It's weird. I can call this event, I can call this ASDF, I can call this whatever I want. But what this object is an event that has access to the key values and various properties like where did you click from, where did you tap from. I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second. Oh no, somebody's messing with the code. All right, I'm going to do console.log E. And what you guys are about to see is a huge mess of code. All right, I'm going to click run. Going to close out of that. Run. You see how it said, oops, let me tap. See all these events that pop up here? If I open one event, I can see, can you guys all see that on the screen? Maybe if I make it a little bit bigger. You can all see it has like current target, was the control key pressed when I pressed that key? Is it bubbleable? I'll talk about that in a second. Is it cancelable? And the most important thing is, what is the key code? So the key code for the key that I just pressed was 70, all right? And we can basically have an if-else tree, logic tree, and we can say if the key code is 27, for example, do something. If it's 37, do something else. So we can effectively say when this key is pressed, I want to perform an action. So let's do that real quick. We can access the key by doing e.keycode, all right? So when we do alert e.keycode, and we run this, and I press the A, it gives me a 65. So what we want to do is we want to make a very simple game where we can move a ball around the screen. So if I press W, it's 87. If I press A, it's 65. If I press S, it's 83. If I press D, it's 68. All right? So if we can remember these numbers and do a if-else statement, right, we can then control this ball to move around and do cool stuff. Is everyone with me? Yeah. All right, so let's make a game. So first thing we want to do, somebody is being silly. Let's tidy this up. Okay. The first thing that we can do, why is there so much space? All right. First thing we want to do is we want to define an object that can keep track of our keys. So we're going to say if e.keycode is equal to 87, because 87 is the W key, then alert W key pressed. Hell yes. I'm going to run this. Now if you press, I'm pressing every single key, and only when I press the W key does it pop up, right? All right. Sorry, this would not work because I didn't do 2, 3 equals. I was setting it so it would always press. So now if you press a key, nothing will happen. Once you press W, it'll say W key pressed. Hell yes. Is that working for everybody? The 3 equals, okay, so 2 equals, there's an issue in JavaScript where it automatically tries to convert things for you because it is a very loosely typed language. So if you don't use 2 equals, you can do like this, and it will give you the same answer. So this is like what you would consider a string, right, in Java. But in JavaScript, this would make 87 in a string not work, but 87 would, because we want 87 to be a number, not a string, or something else. So I can talk to you in depth about this later if you're interested. But for now, like, let's think of it as JavaScript's weird. We need 3 if we want to evaluate the number correctly. So
like for numbers, you use triple equal signs. For strings, you use 2.
So the question was, in general, do you use 2 equals for strings and 3 for numbers? And the answer to that is always use 3 for the most part, because JavaScript has a lot of issues with it. And if you know the rules, then it's okay. You can use 2. In fact, there are some situations where you have to use 2. But for the most part, you want to use 3. So it's kind of weird. But for the most part, you want to use 3 equal signs. All right. So, yes.
So if you are checking for a string, you probably use 2.
So if you're checking for a string, you can also use 3 because you know that you're going to be passed a string. So if this was like hello, and you wanted to match it to be equal to hello, then that'll also work, right?
Okay.
Yeah. As a general rule, always use 3 instead of 2. So does anyone see an issue with this code? So I'm going to say W key, else if e.key code is equal to 65, then, like, who knows what 65 means, right? A key. So does anyone see an issue with this code? Like, it works, right? But it's not the most maintainable thing ever, right? Not the most maintainable thing ever. So what we want to do is create an object, because JavaScript is cool. It lets us create objects whenever we feel like it. We're going to create something called keys. And we're just going to do this. So this creates an object. It's lazy loading that in here. And we're going to do W is 85. A is going to be 65. 87, sorry. S is going to be 83. And D is going to be 68. All right? So what this allows us to do is we can access W, we can use W, and it'll give us 87. If we do A, it's going to give us 65. So what we've done here is we've dramatically improved the maintainability of our code. So instead of doing 87, we do what? Does anyone want to give a guess? Exactly. We just sort of kind of created our own library-ish thing, right? Because jQuery is actually doing something similar. It's just returning a bunch of objects to us that we can use to manipulate our page, right? So we can do keys.w, keys.a, and keys. Let's do that. All right, WASD. And this way, we don't even need to worry about comments, right? Because we know exactly what that's going to do, right? Okay, so now let's make things move, because that's the fun part. Let's remove this and get started. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is, right now we haven't really used any jQuery except for key down, right? We look at the document, we make sure that the key is down, and then we execute something. Inside this code for W, I'm going to execute some code to manipulate the ball, specifically. Does anyone remember how we can paint a target on the ball and select it from all the other things in the DOM?
Use it, the dollar sign thing.
The dollar sign thing? Yes, exactly. Thank you very much. So we would do ball, right? In CSS, this hashtag, again, is for selecting IDs. And if you look at our HTML way up here, we have an ID of ball. So by doing this, we're selecting the ball from the DOM, all right? So we grabbed an instance of the ball, and we can now do stuff with it. So we can pass in something called animation. What this allows us to do is it lets us change CSS values iteratively. And if you remember the lecture before last, we talked about CSS animations and transitions, and we made a ball move across the screen with pure CSS. JavaScript, or jQuery, rather, allows us to do this without using CSS. So it can actually interpolate across the screen without any CSS capabilities. But the ones we're going to use today are CSS related. So we can add a CSS property like top basically is referring to the CSS property of this ball. All right, and I'll explain that in a little bit. And we can say the top is going to be equal to the top is going to be equal to plus. Let's see, this is W, so this is up. So plus 10 pixels. So what this does is JavaScript or jQuery will actually do a lot of work for us. It's going to go and grab the ball. It's automatically going to figure out what units are being used for this top property, and it's going to add 10 pixels to whatever that is. And if you try to do this in raw JavaScript, it's a pain. Like, it's a huge pain to increment it because JavaScript actually does not give you the units. So you have to split 10. It basically gives it to you as a string. So you have to split 10 with the pixels. You have to convert this and make sure you increment this as a number and then add pixel back to the end of it and then stick it back into the property. But in jQuery, you can just do plus equals and it'll take care of everything for you, which is very, very cool. All right. One thing that I forgot to add was I forgot to change the position property over here. So I'm going to add a position absolute, top 0, left 0. What this allows us to do as a refresher is it lets us manipulate the ball with relation to an XY plane. So if I made the top 10, it goes 10 from the top. If I do left 50, the ball is now 50 from the left. Let's do like 500. Why is it not changing? Oh, I forgot the units. There we go. So it's 500 from the left, so you can't see it anymore, right? So does that make sense to everybody? So I'm just setting the left, the top, and right with respect to the screen here. So now it's at 0. Now we can actually see if this works. So W, if I press W, check out that ball, guys. It's rolling. It's rolling. It's pretty cool, right? I don't know. I think 10 is a little bit small. It's like, for a game, that's not dramatic enough. Can't select the thing for some reason. I'm sorry, what? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the screen is inverted. So XY is in this top left corner here where my mouse is. And the Y goes from 0 to infinity this way. And X goes from 0 to infinity this way. So if I wanted the ball to move to the right, I would actually have to make the X or the X value positive in this direction. If I wanted to go down this way, the Y would have to go positive in this direction. So that's why when I press W, it should actually go minus if it will let me click that. It's not letting me click that for some reason. Like, it's avoiding me with a passion. Is it going to let me? Oh, okay. Now it lets me. Oh, what? Oh. Thank you. All right. So now if I press W, it goes up, right? All right. So let's do like 30. Did you guys notice how when I press W, it slides up? It doesn't just pop up. And that's because the animate property is going to interpolate between the first starting position and the ending position. And it's going to make the ball move slowly in between those points. So we're going to go ahead and copy and paste this multiple times. And some people are probably crying right now because that's horrible, right? We're using the ball. We're selecting the ball every single time and adding a new animation to it. And this will work. But what we can do, which is better, is create a variable called ball and making it point to that ball object, right? Yes.
Can you change the rate of the animation?
Yes, it can. Good question. Let's mess with that actually. So right now we're animating the CSS. We can specify another object that allows us to change the animation. So it looks like this. It looks a little funky. Wow, the page is really weird. It's like acting up right now. Tidy up, maybe. Okay, we can pass a duration of 1,000 milliseconds. 1,000 milliseconds is equal to 1 second. So if I press W, it's now going to go slow. See that? If I do 5 seconds, it's going to take even slower. In fact, so slow that you can barely see it move up the screen, right? So by changing this property, we can change how long it takes for it to go from the starting position to the ending position. So let's make that 400 milliseconds. press W, and it slides up. All right, really quickly, let's just change this, refactor our code. We can say ball.animate now because we factored out this code here. And let's make a speed or options for animation. And options to animation is going to have a duration of 400, right? And now we can get rid of this duration object completely, and we can just say options here. And rate, we're going to make that 30. Actually, let's just keep that for now. So we can copy this. This is much nicer, right? We can change it once, and it'll change everywhere. We're going to make this. Let's see. This is WA is left, right? So that would be left would be negative, and then S would be down, so that would be positive, and then D would be, let's see, what is D? D is right, so that's from the left. We want to go positive, right? Correct, I should say. W is up, S is down, A is left, and D is right. Now, one issue, if you tap the D button 5 times, if you tap the D button 5 times, it's just going to keep going, even though your finger's not touching the keys anymore. So rapid fire S for me, real quick on your keyboards, and look at what happens. Right? It's just going to start. It's just going to keep going even after you stop pressing the keys, right? So in our game, that's kind of bad. What we want to do instead is add an option. What just happened? Add an option, and we're going to call this what is it called? Q, and make it false. By default, jQuery adds your animations to a queue, and it's going to run them in order. So if you tap on the W key 5 times, it's actually going to stage all the animations and run them sequentially. So it'll move to the right 5 times. By setting the queue to false, if you tap it 5 times, it's only going to run the last animation that was supposed to run, which is move right once. So, yeah.
It's almost 17.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. Okay, Trey has a lot of awesome things to share with us. I feel so bad. You should come up and talk.
You don't?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. I had my timer, but it didn't go off. All right.
All
So
right.
anyway, that's moving the ball around.
That's events.
Yes.
Another important thing to watch out for in events is bubbling. So, screen room now working on here. So bubbling is this phenomenon that happens where you have, say, view document.click on the body, and then you have a smaller div within that document, and you do a click event on that. Both of them will fire, and so sometimes you don't want both to fire because the div is a smaller element in the body. So to get rid of that, you would do a method called event.prevent propagation or stop propagation. So that would stop the event from propagating up. So propagation is, the reason that happens is because an event tunnels down and then it finds that event, and then once it triggers, it bubbles back up the search tree to each parent node and triggers any parents that are listening to that same event. So that's an important thing to watch out for with events. So what's next? We have Ajax. So Ajax, what is Ajax? It is a really good Dutch soccer team. No, actually Ajax stands for asynchronous JavaScript and XML. So asynchronous, if you guys don't know what that is, so a good example is if I were to make my lunch asynchronously, I would put my lunch in the microwave and then I would go and pour myself a drink and do whatever. And then once the microwave dings, I would go grab that and then I'd have my lunch. Whereas if I did it synchronously, I'd put my lunch in the microwave and then I'd wait for the microwave to finish. And then once it's done, I would go pour my drink and then I would make the rest of my lunch. So this is really important in doing Ajax requests because Ajax requests, they're requesting elements and different things out to the web. And so you don't want to be waiting to get like an image and have that blocking your entire website as you wait to get that image. You want the code to continue to run and move past that. So with Ajax, you're able to fish out into the web, the ocean that is the web, and pull back different objects that you call, except for it's a little more sophisticated than that because you have addresses and URLs. So it's like you have the a direct location of a fish. You just have to go get it. So and then the XML, that's the method by which the objects are sent. It uses an old XML HTTP request object. That's another thing. It sends all these requests over HTTP. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. So you hit a URL with the HTTP request. Then you specify what type of request you're sending to that server. You can do a GET, which is just grabbing information from that server. A POST, which is you're pushing information to that server. And then there's PUT and DELETE. There's a little more specific. PUT is kind of a version of POST. You'd have to look into more exactly. I can explain to you after the difference between a PUT and a POST. But so I have a little example I'm gonna set up for. It's not good. We don't screw.